Thank you very much, Dilly. I let this go on longer than it should because I think it's interesting and it's the one you're least likely to hear a lot about because a lot of our work concerns health and agriculture and nutrition. I think this part you should know that this connects them, almost all of them. So the examples are not only relevant, but they should resonate with you as you could see opportunities for using the infrastructure once it's built up and things are on track. Thanks very much. So now Kate, you're next.
I'll do my best to keep to that time. So first of all, I just want to add my thanks to all of you for coming and for listening. I'm going to give you a quick overview of our agricultural development strategy and work in Nigeria. In preparing for this, I was told to focus more on forward-looking work, but I want to do just a quick review of our team structure, strategy, and goals for those of you who might be less familiar. So this is the agricultural development team. We work across a number of geographies, not just in Nigeria, so you have the map there that shows. And really our top line goal is reducing poverty through sustainable productivity gains for smallholder farmers. So we really are focused on smallholders, which in Nigeria is men and women farming 1 to 2 hectares. Then on the bottom right there, you have a picture of our team structure. And since form follows function, I think this actually gives a pretty good picture of how we work. So primarily we're organized by commodities. We have, for example, the cereals team, the small grains and legumes team, livestock. And those teams work across the entire value chain from research and development through crop improvement, breeding, and then you get into farmer systems and services, which can involve things like extension or fertilizer, seed systems, country and policy, which speaks more to the enabling environment, and that's the team that I sit on. And then, of course, global policy and advocacy are a key partner for us, and Neil will speak a little bit more to that later. You'll also see embedded within the crops team, there's a few cross-cutting areas. So the top line there is food systems, which for us has everything to do with the intersection between agriculture and nutrition, which I think we'll also hear a little bit more about in Neil's presentation of the nutrition strategy. And then, of course, the environment, which is the sustainable part of sustainable productivity, and gender, since women play a key role in agriculture. So another thing to keep in mind is the foundation is only 15 years old, but the ag team actually is even younger than that. We started just in 2007. And I think probably in our work, the work that we've done in crop breeding and crop improvement research and development is what we're better known for. But as the team has grown and matured, we've really worked to develop a more systematic approach to how we deliver these technologies in particular geographies. So this past year, we actually redoubled our efforts in that and developed what we call country plans, which help articulate how all those different pieces, how all those different value chains fit together in a particular geography. So the country plan helps our team focus in 3 ways. So first of all, it defined for Nigeria a set of key value chains or key commodities that we're going to focus on. And you can see that listed there in the blue box: cassava, sorghum, cowpea, maize, groundnut, rice, yams, and then for livestock, poultry, and small ruminants. We would also like to get to a set of priority states in which we're focusing our geographies, but that analysis is still underway, and I think will depend a lot on, as the new agricultural commissioners come into place, getting a better sense of what do the states want to do and what are their agricultural agendas and how can we complement that. And then lastly, it also develops a set of priority investment areas. So the top one there is improving systems and institutions that support smallholder farmers. Second is increasing smallholder productivity through improved delivery of inputs. Third, connecting smallholder farmers to markets. And lastly, this is the food systems initiative, improving access to nutritious food. So to get to the next level of detail of what these investment areas will look like, the implementation of the country plan, we're waiting in a way to get to that. Government and the private sector as key scaling partners, and so it's important that we make sure whatever we're planning to execute is either aligned with or complementary to the government priorities. So now thinking about the theme of this meeting, equity and development, I think there's a lot of different ways that you can think about how that plays out in agriculture. Ultimately, I think aside from the improving nutritional status that comes along with a lot of agricultural work, essentially what we're trying to do is to raise the asset base of smallholder farmers. So in thinking about that, you can think about that at the policy level, that we're trying to help the government as a thought partner have the capacity and the policies that are responsive to the needs of smallholder farmers. In Nigeria, there's already a lot of growth going on in the agriculture sector. It's not a question of stimulating growth, rather just ensuring the growth that does happen is inclusive. So again, we see the Nigerian government as the ultimate owner and driver of this agricultural development strategy, and we'd like to support them in building smallholder responsive and private sector responsive policies by supporting data collection, advocacy, capacity support for policy analysis to ensure that the government has the information that they need to be responsive and to develop good policies. And embedded within that also is raising the importance of entrepreneurship for small-scale farmers, and this is one of the great things about working in Nigeria is there's a real strong sense and culture of entrepreneurialism. So that's something that we really see as a key asset and resource for our work in Nigeria. The next way that I think about equity is at the farm level. And this speaks to something that we've already talked about quite a bit, which is gender. So women's empowerment. As we raise the asset base for farming families, you end up in some cases with the unintended consequence of actually exacerbating a lot of dynamics that can contribute to the poverty cycle. So often, I actually don't have an example of this in particular for Nigeria, but I know a grant that we're working on in Malawi found that as they raise the agricultural productivity for different farming households, and men continue to control the majority of the family's assets, most of that money went to alcohol, drugs, and prostitutes, which when we think about growth and community growth, that's not what we're targeting, obviously. So I don't think I need to make the case to the folks in this room, but we already know that by empowering women and giving them more control over assets, that it has a huge impact on the overall health and wellness of the family. She's more likely to invest in nutrition and education. So we see a lot of our work as coming through a gender lens to make sure that we're either transforming the relationships between men and women, or at least developing programs in a way such that it's not exacerbating the poverty cycle. So now I'm just going to give a few quick examples of existing investments that we have that are already fitting under the different themes, investment areas that I mentioned earlier. So in terms of improving the systems and institutions that support smallholder farmers, we have the SATA grant, and Wole Ogundare is here representing the SATA team. So if you have questions about it, he's a great resource. But basically, the goal is to strengthen the state ministries of agriculture so that they have the capacity to drive and manage their own agricultural development strategy. We also have some representatives here from FMARD, and there we're providing some technical support in the area of policy, knowledge management, agribusiness, to help the ministry develop and strengthen those areas. In terms of increasing smallholder productivity through the delivery of improved inputs, We have a new grant which is supporting the scaling of public-private model for extension, Babangona. We also have a grant that's focused specifically on supporting the seed sector development for cassava with CRS. And I'll just say too that these are just a few examples, and there's lots more grants that we have that do support this that I'm not going to run through. So, third, connecting smallholder farmers to markets. So what I want to highlight here is the Competitive African Rice Initiative grant that we have. And this grant does a lot of things along the entire value chain, but in particular what's interesting here is it increases access to financial services for smallholder rice farmers and producers, which in terms of being able to access a market is a key bottleneck. We also have a similar grant in yams called YIFSUA, which is improving seed production and better post-harvest management techniques so that farmers are actually able to reach the quality necessary to sell their yams at market. The last area, improving access to nutritious foods, a lot of different things we're doing here. Similar to the grant that I already mentioned, providing senior advisors to the ministry. We also have a senior advisor that we're supporting in nutrition in the agriculture ministry. We've also done quite a bit of work with the IITA to support the commercialization of the Aflasafe, which is important for neutralizing aflatoxin, which is a very carcinogenic fungus that affects maize and groundnut. And then lastly, we have Paul Illawarra here from Harvest Plus, who can speak to fortifying different commodities through breeding in Nigeria, mostly around vitamin-rich cassava. So I'll wrap up there. I was smiling. But just want to say that, going into 2016 and into the future, while we're not clear yet on what the implementation of these areas will look like ongoing, in Nigeria, we do know that women's empowerment, food systems, and entrepreneurship are going to be really key themes for us in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kate.